Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast, presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. Week 3. Mac 3 is my favorite number for
Great
a
number.
variety of reasons.
Great number.
Of course. But week 3, we've got a ton of games again because we don't have ACC teams really playing each other at this point. We don't have any this week, I believe. So we are back on the grind of a bajillion games, and it's some really good ones. So this should be a good week.
No question about it, KG. We do have one, and I'm scrolling frantically to try to find it.
Which game is it?
Somewhere.
Oh, Florida State, Boston College. Duh.
Yes,
Duh.
of course. Which, I understand why you didn't remember that game because it's going to be brutal. But we'll tell you about that in a second. I am excited, KG, mostly because as you guys are watching this, actually, that's not true. As you're watching this, I am probably in a wedding, which, yay, very excited. One of our great friends is getting married. Now, when she told us she was getting married in the fall, I kind of...
You're like, what?
What was that? When? When did you say? But it worked out. It worked out perfectly. So a Friday ceremony. Cannot wait. It's going to be beautiful, amazing. Shout out to Carson and Clausen for getting that done. Very excited. But then, KG, at approximately, do some quick math, 2 a.m. in the morning, I will be pulling into Tiger Town. And I'm so excited to be back home. We have not been here since 2019 on a Thursday night, the first ever game.
That's right.
On the network. And we're back, baby. And I can't wait. So I'm very excited. Very excited for the weekend.
You have been everywhere except Clemson, literally every other place in the ACC.
And
probably
we tried.
Multiple times.
We tried to come to Clemson. I don't know what happened. It depends on who you talk to. It was somebody else's fault. But we're here finally. We're here.
I know you are excited. And if you've ever... I wish for our listeners that one day you could walk around Clemson with Mac. It's like walking around Clemson with Thomas Green Clemson or the mayor or whatever. Yeah, that's basically, I know RIP, but that's what it's like. So Mac, I know you're going to have a great time. And it's Clemson FAU. We'll get to that game. It's not in our big game breakdown. Sorry, Owls. But the spread in that game I find very, very interesting. Before we get into our big game breakdown, Mac, we have told people that you and I both, we feel kind of old. We've hit that 30 mark, which, that'll hit you right in the face.
Yeah.
But Ingles is double our age. They're 60 years old as a grocery store. And it just shows. They know what they're doing. They're like a well-oiled machine. They know what they're doing way more than Mac and I do at half their age. And they pride themselves in their organics, Mac. They have great relationships with local farmers. And that's why we love Ingles.
It's the best part about it. I didn't know where you were going with that age thing there, but I'm glad that you landed the plane beautifully. It was stupendous. I don't know what I'm trying to say, actually. I was trying to say splendid and stupendous and splendendous.
Well, thank you so much.
All in the same word, but words are hard sometimes. But it's not hard going to Ingles, guys, because they have all the organics, like KG said. They actually have more organics and sell more organics than any other store. That's one of my favorite things. You guys have heard us talk about the produce section so much. It is loaded, popping with the freshest produce. And as you said, they work with local farmers. And that's important to me, especially with what states you're in. South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, so on and so forth. They're using that community right then and there. And also, KG, this is what I love, the convenience of the curbside pickup. Place your order, roll up, hit the horn twice, beep, beep. They'll come right out and drop off everything you need. So before we jump into our Friday episode, let's get a quick message from our friends over at Ingles.
It's time to discover the convenience and time savings of contact-free pickup with Ingles Curbside. Just visit shop.ingles-markets.com or download the app. And your Ingles personal shopper gets to work with specialized training on how to select the freshest items for a pre-scheduled pickup. They'll even text you with updates. You pull up to a designated space and your personal shopper delivers your items right to your vehicle. Fresh, fast, and affordable. It's all in the bag. Ingles. Low prices. Love the savings.
Mac, it is time for our big game breakdown. We have 4 games in this section this week, and one of those is Pitt, West Virginia. If you missed our Pitt, West Virginia preview episode on Wednesday, go listen to that. We'll also hit on it in this big game breakdown. Let's start with this one, Mac. I feel like this week is the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
Right.
Like, do you see that? There's so many ACC Big Ten games. So let's start with this one. Louisville is playing Indiana at noon on Big Ten Network. in Lucas Oil Stadium. So this
Yeah,
is
they
not
are.
in Bloomington. This is in Indianapolis. So I think you'll still have some Indiana fans, but that's also pretty close to Louisville. So you'll have Louisville
That's
fans
right.
going up there.
That's right.
And Indiana, you probably remember them because of week 1. They played Ohio State, and they held Ohio State to 23 points.
Yeah.
They only scored 3. They are kind of struggling to figure out who their quarterback is. They played 2 quarterbacks in their most recent game. So that's interesting with Indiana. They don't really know who they are offensively. And I think Louisville does somewhat know who they are offensively. They're running the ball really well with Jawar Jordan and Jack Plummer in there running the offense. And yeah, they're coming off a feel-good game, but they also scored a bunch of points against Georgia Tech. So Indiana's defense has looked pretty good. They held Ohio State to 23, as I said. But this Louisville offense, I think there's an advantage there against Indiana's offense.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And I think what's interesting is, yes, Indiana did work against Ohio State, right? Like they did a really good job and held them to a very low number, not what we're used to seeing or expect from an Ohio State team. But one could argue Ohio State hasn't been the same as a lot of people like. And I was actually watching a great news show on our network, the ESPN family networks, the Pat McAfee show. And he was saying like Ohio State fans don't even like Ohio State's team right now. So they might be dealing with some issues.
Kind of sounds like Clemson fans.
Don't tell anybody. But I think at the end of the day, don't put too much, belief into that, but it is something certainly to keep your eye on. I think it also is interesting. It's a neutral site game. It is not at Indiana, as you kind of mentioned there. So I think that's important. When I look at this offense, though, KG, man, it has been unleashed early. And now I get the opponents. I think the Georgia Tech, the second half I think you can take a lot from that. But I think what you can kind of take from the Murray State game is this is a team that was expected to do that, and then they did. Like that's a big difference, especially in today's world, which you never know. In the transfer portal, there's guys, maybe they ball out at some, smaller school and, who knows, but these guys handle business and they looked really good. They played 9 freaking quarterbacks. Like, come on, what are we doing? That's crazy when you look at that. But, the 3 J's are balling, and that's Jack Plummer, Jawar Jordan, and Jamari Thrash there. It's been really fun to see them. Looking at Jamari, I mean, he is a guy that can take the top off. It can be a possession guy, is big enough where he can go over the top. And he's just what has been missing, I feel like, from this Louisville team, especially the Scott Satterfield era, of that guy that can take it off the top and be a home run hitter. It was Tutu Atwell, and then it was struggling to find who can be that guy. And I think Jamari certainly has showed that. He is just a freaky guy, averaging over 17 yards a catch. But Jawar Jordan and the explosive nature that he has in that backfield. I mean, this dude has 3 70-plus yard runs for touchdowns. One got called back for a bogus holding call, but he did it. And that dude is freaky fast. I think he's going to be a big piece of this. And then just seeing, kind of Jack Plummer and how can he continue to evolve and continue to be, a big-time deal in this offense here.
Yeah, completely agree, Mac. I love the triple J's, the 3 J's.
That's right.
That's excellent. That's a great marketing strategy there for Louisville. And here's another thing, too. When you look at this game, Louisville's a 10-point favorite, as I said.
Right.
In Louisville's last 10 games, so that goes back to the Scott Satterfield era, but still in their last 10 games, they're 7-3 against the spread. So keep that in mind. And that's not even my crazy stat, Mac. Here's my crazy stat for this game. This game might be a little slower pace because Indiana is currently 130th out of 133 teams in plays per game.
Yikes.
And Louisville is only 89th in plays per game. Now, it's only 2 games. It's small sample size. But make your possessions count. That's what I'm gathering from that. And turnovers could be very, very costly in this game.
I think the difference with that, though, KG, is you have one team that gets a lot of 3 and outs. You have another team that scores in 2 plays. Like it's a little bit at different ends of the spectrum. Yes, it's the same thing. And KG Stats and Info, you're trying to trick us here. It is what it is. But it's a little bit different. So I don't know how much, grain of salt I would take with that, just because Louisville can score from such a far away. I mean, they have so many one-play, scoring drives, which is super important. What's funny kind of about that? There was like this old adage, probably 90s. It might have still been around kind of in the 90s, but the time of possession.
I don't recall.
Right. What is that? The time of possession was like vital to coaches. Like they got the stat sheet. They look at that. Oh my gosh, no wonder we lost the game. They had it one more minute than us. Where, Coach Rick and the boys come to town and run this fast break offense. He doesn't give a flip about that. How many points did I average per play? That's what they care about. And if that number was obviously super high because they're scoring in bunches. So that was kind of funny talking to him about when that transition happened and, the big plays. That's all we care about. Let's be explosive and score some points.
That is, you're 100% correct. And that was back in my day, Mac, when old school Coach Kelly was saying, run the ball. I mean, that's what you wanted to do. And
Coach Kelly thrived at Nebraska back in the 90s. Let me just tell you.
Yeah, I was on that staff. Good times. Okay, let's make a pick here, Mac. This game, God, I was going back and forth because 10 is a big number. And yeah, it's in Lucas Oil. I mean, we'll see the split of fans. But I just haven't been inspired by what I've seen from Indiana. And I think Louisville can score, to your point. And I think the culture, when they got down against Georgia Tech, went into the half, came out and played like that in the second half, that showed me something. So I'm going to take Louisville -10 in this game. I'm taking them to cover.
I like that, KG. And it's funny. I was doing, some radio on Wednesday morning with Wes and EJ, and I was picking Indiana. Like I was set on it. And then I'm like talking the game through and I talked myself into taking Louisville. I'm taking the Cards. I'm wearing the pink seat shirt.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good. I'm representing those guys. So I'm going with the Cards as well. I just think at the end of the day, Louisville's offense is good and it's explosive. Now this might be a great test and maybe the best test we've seen them go against, but I feel confident about a 2-touchdown win here, especially it being a neutral site. So like you, I'm rocking with the Cards.
We will see who wins this ACC Big Ten challenge. Speaking of, let's go to our next game here, Mac. Minnesota at number 20, North Carolina. And by the way, we are recording this on Wednesday, so some of the spreads might have changed. That we will reflect that on our Twitter picks. North Carolina is an 8-point favorite, 3:30 on ESPN. Minnesota has allowed 16 points in 2 games, Mac. So take that with what you will. They beat Nebraska to start the year 13-10 in a good old rough and tumble Big Ten football game. And then they beat Eastern Michigan 25-6. Yeah. Which honestly just sounds terrible. Like anybody who watched that, you're related to one of the players. So the big question with this, Mac, is does Minnesota have the offensive firepower? Because UNC can score, and the defense has been better. I mean, yes, UNC hasn't necessarily been the prolific passing offense that we thought, but they're running the ball like crazy with Omar and Hampton. Yeah. Can Minnesota even score in that? Like, you probably got to score 30, Minnesota, and I'm not sure they can do that.
Well, here's the deal. I've got to ask you this first, based on everything you just said there. If something terrible happens and Jacob only gets an offer from a directional Michigan school, will you still watch? Like, because it sounds like maybe not.
Why would he move up there? No, we'll go preferred walk on at that point, Mac.
Okay, I like that. We can make a call. We can make that happen for sure. Something bad must have happened if that's the only case. But yeah, I mean, that's the point. Look at Minnesota. I mean, we're talking about Nebraska, who Colorado just walked the dog on, and Colorado's a good team. At least I think they are up to this point. And I mean, Eastern Michigan, come on, what are we doing? Don't be playing directional Michigan schools. You know, we say that against Florida schools, but for a different reason, right? Because they can beat you. Those schools, it's just like, what are we doing? We don't want to do that. Western, Eastern, Northern, Southern, come on. You don't want to.
There's so many directional Michigan schools.
Right. The interesting thing is, I only think half of those exist, but it sounds good. The interesting piece is, North Carolina was just in this game against App State, where it's going to be a rock fight. Minnesota's going to try to run the football, have that gritty defense, try to hit you in the mouth. What can you do against it? And I think it prepares them perfectly. Now, this isn't that classic sleeper trap game like you and I were discussing. We're so dumb not to see with App State last week. I think the Heels take care of business. And I'm interested to see the speed differential here, the classic ACC speed against the Big Ten. Can they keep up type of thing? And with Drake, I would like to see him kind of take off in a game and kind of go for 300 plus, 4 or 5 touchdowns. But if they don't need to, they don't need to. And at the end of the day, I know Heels fans, all they care about is winning. And so it will be interesting. What is Minnesota going to try to take away? And if it is the run and they load up the box, can the boys, the tight ends, Kobe Pacer, all these guys Can they get going? And is McCollum going to be back? My goodness, I'm waiting to see him.
Seriously.
Can they get going in the passing game? I think the answer is absolutely. But I think Chip Lindsey and company, Coach Lindsey, their offensive coordinator, they're, hey, whatever you want to give us, we'll gladly take. And so I feel really confident with UNC with this one.
It's so fascinating you say that, Matt, because UNC's at an interesting spot where are you really going into a game saying, beat us with your arm, Drake May? Like that's baffling to me. But it's so good for UNC because they're showing they can run the ball. And that's what they couldn't do last year. And not run it with Drake. Yeah. Run it with these backs. And British Brooks was out against App State and they still ran the ball like that. So
And the one thing I think is interesting about you saying that, KG, is it's kind of what average to good teams have to do. You have to take away one of them. And a lot of people think it's better for your defense if you can take away the run. Like I remember we played Boston College my senior year and they just loaded up the box. I mean, we tried to run, but we're going against 6-7. Like it just doesn't make sense to be able to do that. Deshaun Watson threw for like 500 plus yards that day. So whatever you want to do, we can do the opposite. And so you're right. It is fascinating, but I bet that's what Minnesota tries to do here.
So we both think UNC covers here, the 8.
Yes. Yep.
It's a pretty low number.
It actually has moved. It was at 7 Wednesday morning, and now it's up to 8. And who knows? It might move again by the time this releases.
Here's the other thing to look at, and we don't talk too much about totals. I'm much more interested in the actual number, but totals are, fair game. The total in this game is 50. And my crazy stat is Minnesota's 0-2 against the spread this year because 13-10 and 25-6. And the under has very much hit in every one of their games.
Right.
So I think the 50 number is so interesting because if you're saying, okay, let's say UNC scores 30 something, but can Minnesota, pick up their side of the bargain? I don't know. I doubt it. I honestly doubt it.
And it is funny too. I'm looking at these team stats, these team comparisons right now, and Minnesota only giving up 92 passing yards a game. I mean, that's pretty fascinating. So do they actually switch everything I just said and try to stay back in coverage? It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating.
That's so Big Ten, right? Like,
right.
You're giving that like when we always talk about all these defenses in the Big Ten. Well, look at the offenses. Don't get me started on this, Mac. Don't get me started on this. Let's go to another ACC Big Ten Challenge game. Syracuse.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. Syracuse at Purdue. Syracuse is a 2.5-point favorite, 7:30 p.m. on NBC. This is the Big Ten's primetime game on NBC this weekend. So a lot of eyes for Syracuse. And the big question mark, I went on one of the Syracuse radio shows yesterday, and I brought up Oronde Gadsden, and they were like, we don't know. No one knows. Dino has not been saying anything about Oronde Gadsden. And obviously, you'd love to have him for this game. What I was reading, he was in a boot in the last game, and they were reporting that he hurt the other. He had tweaked one ankle in camp, and the ankle that he hurt in this other game was the other ankle. So maybe that's better. I don't know. I don't know which one would be better. But Purdue's coming off the win over Virginia Tech. They did lose to Fresno State at home, which is odd. That's a very weird split.
Yeah.
And Purdue likes to run the ball. And we know Syracuse, they did well against the run against Western Michigan, who was running it well. So can they hold up against the run? I think that's a big question in this game.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, too, because they've given up so many passing yards, right? And Fresno State slinging it around. Can Garrett Schrader do that if Oronde Gadsden's not out there? That's what's going to be interesting to see, because I think they have dudes. When you look at this roster, when you look at the guys that they do have and guys that have, stepped up and been valuable assets, you look at Big Hatcher, you look at Jones. Gadsden's only 3rd on their list. And again, I know he got hurt, but they have guys that they feel capable and ready to go. Are they ready to go in this type of spotlight?
I still want to have Oronde Gadsden there.
Right. I mean, he's your best player. He's one of the best players in the league. So, it was funny. At first, I was kind of going back and forth, and I just didn't feel great about it. But I think Garrett Schrader is to the point now, Kelly, where he's good enough. He'll get other guys going. He's a vet. He knows what to do. They're going to run the ball. He's going to run the ball. So I think they do get it done here. Awesome time slot. Great to be in prime time. And, man, if you can dominate, what a message that sends out, to the country that Syracuse isn't messing around and they're for real.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. And last year, of course, they played in the Dome, and Syracuse won by 3, 32-29.
Walk-off. Yeah, game-winner touchdown. To Oronde.
Right.
To
Oronde, of course. The number is 2.5. And here's my crazy stat, Mac.
Ooh.
Purdue is 0-5 versus the spread in their last 5 home games.
Oops.
They don't like playing at home, Mac. I'm taking Syracuse.
There you go.
That crazy stat pushed me over the edge. Syracuse minus 2.5.
Well, I didn't even know that, and I'm taking Cuse. I think I'm confident they win by a field goal. Like, come on. They're doing that. I think that Schrader, again, too good, going to get it done. Love that we're going to put a very nice capital, exclamation point on this Big Ten challenge in the nightcap for all the Big Teners to see on NBC. Let's get it done.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, no.
There are a lot more ACC Big Ten games, but not in our
That's
Big
the
Ten
last one,
breakdown.
though. That's the last one. That'll be the last one people see.
That's
from
true.
a regard to
a
timing standpoint.
Great point. Okay, our final game in the big game breakdown again. This full preview on Wednesday. Go check it out with Pat Bostic. He told some awesome stories.
Yeah,
Pitt at West Virginia, 7:30 p.m. on ABC, the Backyard Brawl. This line has been fascinating, Mac. Pitt opened as a favorite. It went to even, and now West Virginia is a 1-point favorite in this football game. And Pat Bostic really told us everything we need to know about this game. Pitt, frankly, looked terrible. I mean, especially in the first half against Cincinnati. They just, that was not Pitt football. It was very puzzling. But the big question in this game, as Pat Bostic was saying, was can they establish the run? Can they stop the run?
Right.
Can this D-line look like a Pitt D-line? But what I'm more interested in, Mac, is Phil Dracovic. And his stat line from the Cincinnati game, 10 for 32 for 179, 3 touchdowns.
Not good.
I've almost never seen this, Mac. Your TD number is almost the same as your yards per attempt, 5.6 yards per attempt. That's crazy.
Yeah.
He's got to be better.
Yeah, it has to be. And can he be is the question.
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated at this game because I think that the environment is going to be nuts.
Yeah.
It's a night game, ABC, primetime. These fans are going to be going crazy, and there's going to be couches burning everywhere, middle fingers galore telling you you're number one, all kinds of who know what. And I don't feel good about it. I really don't, especially being this close. It's essentially a pick 'em.
Yeah.
I think that West Virginia rides the wave. I think that the lines of scrimmage, not saying it's going to be bully ball, but that's what West Virginia is going to try to turn it into. And if we saw anything last week, it's that Pitt right now just isn't comfortable doing that. So as much as it pains me, I'm going with West Virginia here. And it's crazy the way this line has moved. It'll be fascinating to see if it grows even more because that's a pretty significant, turnaround in just a couple hours.
Exactly. Mac, I'm a little shocked by this. I'm taking Pitt. This is very uncharacteristic for us. Normally, I'm the pessimist a little bit.
That's right.
I have to believe that Phil Dracovic can be better. And here's what I like about this. Pitt did look a lot better in the second half.
Yeah.
They can build on that. It's not like they had a great first half and then a stinker second half. So I think they can build on that. The environment does terrify me, Mac, for this game for Pittsburgh. But I've got to believe in the Narduzzi. I think the coaching matchup here is definitely in Narduzzi's favor.
Yeah.
And I think both teams are desperate. I said this on Wednesday. I think West Virginia, I think Neil Brown's coaching for his job, perhaps. But Pitt now is as desperate. I mean, it's coming off a bad loss to Cincinnati. Yeah. So I'm taking the Panthers, but
I hope and pray,
man.
KG, but we'll see. We will see.
You know me, I'm a homer. Okay, let's get to our speed round. We got 3 games in this category here, and then we'll give you some 1-pointers on the rest of the games. Clemson versus Florida Atlantic, 8 p.m. ACC Network. Mac and the boys will be there, the huddle. You got to watch. Clemson right now is a 24.5-point favorite. I feel like every time we talk about Clemson, it's just like, man, what are we going to see? We don't really know. And it feels like this is not a team that can truly beat you. Now, I'm saying that. Who the heck knows? Number's 24.5. But, where you make those mistakes and they can make you pay, like Duke. You made those mistakes against Charleston Southern. It didn't really matter. Can Clemson play a relatively mistake-free football game? Because at some point, Mac, and you and I talked about this, at some point, it's not just, oh, shucks, these crazy things are happening to us. It's like, you're doing this a little bit to yourself. So we've got to see if Clemson can overcome that.
Yeah, the turnovers right now, they're not uncharacteristic because we don't know. That's all we know about this. It's trend. It's trendy. Let's get off the trend. I would love to see a very clean game, very similar to my wishes from last week, but I'm going to add that as number 1. Would love to see it clean. No silly mistakes. Look, if you're throwing a competitive pass, 50-50 ball, and guy makes a great play, is what it is. Understand it. But the silliness
Right.
that we have seen from these turnovers and just quite frankly how bad they are, and you got to eliminate those, and hopefully that's, learning curves and mistakes that were made, and a win is good. But then you made a lot of mistakes and you lost too in game one. So confident that Clemson in this one rolls. Night game in a valley is different, as you well know. Those guys are going to be juiced. They're going to be excited. And I think we see that offense get really explosive. I expect Cade to push the ball downfield. I think and can continue to think that he grew in that game, and we saw him play better in that game. Would love to see, Will Shipley again continue to be a guy. And then just the depth of Clemson. I was very not surprised, encouraged by, the 2s and 3s when they got in there. They did their job. They looked very effective, and it was fun to see that. Hope to see those guys get the opportunity. And then defense, really should just feast. This is going to be an offense that's going to try to be big, fast tempo. They've got a big offensive line. But I think Clemson needs to really flex their muscles, especially going into that game 4 or week 4 with FSU on the horizon, a noon game, which I know a lot of people are disappointed about. But I think Clemson needs to make a statement and feel very confident. Kind of similar game plan, KG, in regards to length of time, as Cade should be playing well in the third quarter, again, thinking that everything kind of goes Clemson's way.
I think at this point, you want to get Cade just as much game experience as reasonably possible. You don't want to play him if it's a 50-point game or something towards the end. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. And leading into Florida State, this is your last game before Florida State. So can you continue to build that cohesion? Can you continue to build that confidence? The confidence is so important, as we've talked about with this team so many times. And I do think Clemson covers in games like these. Generally, the depth of the 2s and 3s, that's why you get the cover for a team like Clemson. So I think Clemson covers the 24.5, but you got to not really make a statement to the country, because I think pretty much all of the country is going to be picking Florida State in that game next week. But for your own psyche, for your own confidence, I think that's why you need to play well in this game.
And you want to know another interesting thing? I was kind of just looking around the numbers universe, and this is a dangerous place. You got to be careful.
Oh, it's dangerous.
Clemson is one of 2 teams who leads or is in the top 10 of the country in yards gained and yards allowed. I mean, they're playing at a high level. It's just some silly mistakes that have really hurt them. Who do you think the other team is in that top 10? I'll give you a hint. They're in the ACC.
I mean, would it not be Florida State?
Not Florida State. One more guess.
Yards gained and yards allowed.
Yeah, so really good defense, really good offense.
Hold on. I need to guess.
Think about who people have played.
Oh, Duke.
No, they had Clemson. Clemson, it killed them yard-wise.
Oh,
Syracuse. Isn't that crazy? Fascinating. Okay. So Clemson averaging 551 yards per game. I mean, that's nuts.
Insane.
That's insane to look at. So how can you play a clean game? Listen, I don't quite care about score. I'd love to see the score is what it is. But playing a clean game to me is the number one objective, number one most important, and then shots downfield. Those are the 2 things I really just want to see from these Clemson Tigers.
And stay healthy, obviously. That's always a caveat with these games.
Would be nice.
Mac, I would argue, honestly, similar discussion with this next game. Florida State at Boston College. Florida State's a 26-point favorite, noon on ABC. So Florida State back-to-back nooners on the road. That's interesting. And, BC has really struggled. BC's down bad. All right, we know that. Florida State, when you think of, Mac, Florida State fans are going to get so triggered by this, and I'm so sorry. It's just the first thing I thought of. When I think of the kind of the end of the most recent Florida State dynasty, I think of when they went up to Boston College and got blown out, maybe 2016, 2017. So you're going back. I mean, you've been back since. This is a handle your business game, right? Go up there, handle your business. Boston College has really looked very bad. And again, stay healthy, but, continue to send that message to the country that you are, as Eric McLean says, the best team in the country.
I'm excited to see it, KG. Again, I keep referencing radio. Sorry, it's a fun time.
Make sure you're listening.
West Durham. Yeah, you got to tune in, guys. Come on, you got to check it out there on SiriusXM. We call it 3 wide. A lot of threes in my life. That's what we do there. Y'all would. EJ jokingly said that FSU would cover in the first half. Maybe he said the first quarter. One of the 2. But I think he's right. I think he's right.
EJ's gotten real confident, hasn't he?
Just wait for week 4. Can't wait. Can't wait. It's going to be beautiful.
Honestly, no, but Mac, seeing what EJ has had to go through, I'm happy
he
for
deserves
him.
it. He deserves it. He was pretty blunt about how I've been whipping his tail since we've been on this network.
And I know you have been so humble about it.
He's ready for this moment if it comes. We'll see. Maybe you got to wait till next year or later in the year. We don't know. But when I see this game, there is a matchup I can't wait to see, actually. There is kind of a silver lining in this beatdown that I think is going to occur. Braden Fisk and company on that defensive line versus my guy, Christian Mahogany.
Yes.
Number one, it is unbelievable opportunity for Mahogany, for Christian to solidify, his first round ability by going against these guys and dominating. And then number two, vice versa, it's a great opportunity for those guys to go against a first round pick and to try to continue their draft and their stock and their film. So that's going to be fun. A lot like Clemson Duke with those lines of scrimmage battles. I can't wait to see this one. But again, the overall depth of Florida State, defense is playing with their hair on fire. Offense, I mean, my gosh, it's stealing at this point, the things that they can do. If I have one key, though, for Florida State, and not key, thing I want to see is eliminating drops. They have had some key drops at very vital moments in that LSU game, which did not matter. And they had some in this past game that we were at against Southern Miss. They had a lot. They had like 7 drops. That's a ton. So can we clean that up, get those yards back? Let's add to the stats. Let's get some more points. But I think this one, KG, is going to be a blowout.
I also just want to see FSU, we're back. We're playing to that standard. Yes. We're not going to go up to sleepy Boston College at noon and let BC hang around, right? Yeah. We're going to go up there and beat Florida State. So I want to see that as well. Okay, last game in our speed round, last ranked game here. Number 21, Duke is hosting Northwestern, 3:30 on ACC Network. Duke's an 18.5 point favorite. The Nerd Bowl, indeed. Northwestern hasn't looked as bad, I think, as everyone kind of assumed they would with the whole offseason scandal. And, of course, the Duke defense has only allowed 14 points this whole year. I'm just going to say this, Mac. You can give me more in-depth analysis. Here's where I'm coming from. I'm taking Northwestern to cover. I think that Vegas is they're just going to say, okay, Northwestern, and people are going to be betting on Duke because they're going to say Northwestern had all those issues, whatever. And I think Duke is good. But I think the Clemson game, and, Duke fans or whoever's going to say, okay, Homer, I think the Clemson game was really fluky. It was really fluky. So we're giving them.
Keep going. Just hold on. Keep going. I'll be right back. Keep going.
Oh, okay. All right. But we're giving them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and saying they are truly 21 points better than Clemson. But I don't really think so, Mac.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. And guess what? Here we go. Are you kidding me? These guys, Riley's offended. Riley might never come on our show again. I hope he doesn't hear this. We
love Riley, though.
Love Riley.
Duke still wins. Don't get me wrong. Duke still wins, but Northwestern covers.
No. Duke dominates. I think they kill these boys. I think that those guys go nuts. I think offensively, Riley's throwing it all over the yard. Kind of similar to Drake. I'd love to see him have a really big game here, and I think he can. And then just, defensive, they're going to kill these guys. I mean, they're averaging 98 yards per game running the football. They're going to get destroyed. They're going to get destroyed by Duke. All right. Anyway, love you guys, but not wearing that again. Get that out of here. Especially after what you did to me. Yeah, that hurt my soul to do that. I love wearing other people's stuff, but not after that. That was rude. Anyway, rude. Come on. Duke's going to do their thing. Come on.
Okay. Duke wins. And I'd say Duke wins by 2 scores, but 18 and a half.
Not three scores.
18 and a half?
Yeah. 21 plus. They beat Clemson by 21. You're telling me they can't beat
That's
Northwestern?
what I said when you were going to get your hat.
I heard you.
They're not 21 points better than Clemson. Clemson fumbled twice on the 1-yard line.
They were that night.
Yeah, that night. Okay. Well, again, the ACC Big Ten Challenge continues. Somehow it's not over yet, Mac. It just continues. Okay.
How many games? Give me real quick before we go to the one-pointers. How many games is
UVA, Maryland, we're getting to that. Virginia Tech, Rutgers, we're getting to that. Duke, Northwestern, Purdue, Syracuse, Minnesota, North Carolina, Louisville, Indiana. 6.
7. Where did Magic 7 come from? 6 games. What's the ACC's record in that? Before you don't have to specify. We already did some.
Well, I think in the big game breakdown, they win all 3. I think Duke wins, and then we're getting to these in the one-pointers.
I'm going 5-2.
Okay.
Or excuse me, 4-2. 4-2. I
I'm
keep
going
wanting to
4-2
add
as
this
well.
magical
I'm going
one.
4-2
I don't know
as
where
well.
that one keeps coming from.
I don't know where it is coming
4-2.
from either.
4-2. All right, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, 1-pointers. Quick thoughts on these games. And one of these is Virginia Tech at Rutgers. Rutgers is a 7-point favorite, 3:30 on Big Ten Network.
I saw our guy. I'm very worried about this game. I saw our guy Grant Wells was throwing today.
Yes, I saw that too.
He wasn't practicing. He was throwing in practice. Ollie Jennings also out.
I hate that.
Rutgers covers. Rutgers maybe blows them out.
Okay. I think Rutgers covers, but release drones. Release them.
I would love to see it. I'm fascinated to see what the game plan.
Into the air.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe on the ground. Drone.
You know what I mean. Okay, Wake Forest at Old Dominion. Wake's a 14-point favorite, noon, ESPN2. Mac, this is not the powerhouse Old Dominion like they were last year.
They're missing their guy. I think that Wake Forest goes up here. What's the spread? 14 right now. I think Mitch is too good. He looks amazing. I mean, his deep ball is so sick, but kind of what I was begging for, and they did it against an SEC opponent. There's a logo on their chest, but that's about it. They ran the ball like crazy.
Yeah, they did.
And I think if they can continue to do that, I mean, if this team can average, like 165, 170 on the ground in every game, I know they're well over that right now. I think they win a lot of football games because that is such a key thing. I feel really good about Wake. I think they continue to ground and pound and just dominate. And my guy, Carney, is back. Younger brother. I'm jacked up about this. Can't wait to see it. Tate, is his name Tate? Tate Carney?
Mm-hmm. No, Cade was the older brother.
Yes, Cade is the older brother. I think just look it up. Hold on. Sorry, Tate, if that's not your name.
That sounds right.
It's Carney. Your name's Carney from now on forever. I'm scrolling. It's taking forever. Everyone's looking.
Or as Mac does.
It's embarrassing.
My guy, Big Carney.
Don't be telling my secrets, Kelly. Okay, here. It is Tate. Why did I second guess myself? It's Tate. Yeah, I had it.
I knew
Grand
it.
Slam.
We knew
Big Tate fan. Big Tate fan.
Okay, we both think Wake covers there. But again, why are you playing at Old Dominion? That's a conversation.
Why are you playing
for another
at
day.
Old Dominion? Don't like it.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly. I mean, why are you playing at all, honestly? Okay, Georgia Tech at number 17, Ole Miss, 7:30 p.m. on SEC Network. Ole Miss is an 18-point favorite. Here's the thing. When I first saw the number, I'm thinking Georgia Tech plus 18. Like, not even really thinking.
But then you looked at last year.
Well, I know what happened last year, but last year is so different. Yeah. Georgia Tech is a completely different program. Completely different. What's worrying me is that this game's in Oxford at night. Yeah. I think that there will be a raucous crowd and quite the environment. Yeah. I'm still going to do it, Mac. Georgia Tech plus 18. Yes. I think they cover.
They got Haynes King.
I think they cover.
Haynes dealing. Yeah. Haynes is a top 4 quarterback right now in the ACC. This dude is balling.
Yeah, I want to see it. I'm very. This could be Georgia Tech. Like, I don't think they win, and they don't need to go win necessarily. I mean, obviously, love to win, but go out there and look good. That would be a step in the right direction for Georgia Tech.
This dude's throwing it like 67%, 600 yards, leading the ACC in touchdowns. He's balling. I feel good. I am picking them to cover as well. Like you said, I'd love to see a win. That'd be a heck of a underdog story.
That would send a message.
Send a big old message. But I don't know if I'm quite going there, but I do think they cover for sure. And I think it looks competent as they play in this game.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, Virginia at Maryland, Friday, 7 o'clock on FS1. Maryland's a 14.5-point favorite. Virginia is going back to Tony Muskett at quarterback. Yeah. UVA is also allowing 447 yards per game. I am taking Maryland.
I am too. And I think Maryland might it might be a beat down here because, Talia is playing at a super high level. They're running the ball very effectively. Offensively, they're just playing at a high clip right now, averaging, right about 500 yards of offense per game. I didn't love when Muskett was in there, just the way it looked. Now, it wasn't a true full chance. Like, I know he got hurt against Tennessee.
And it was against
Tennessee. Which is a great team. So maybe he lights it up. We'll see. But I loved what I saw, last week with Calandria and thought that, man, he made some plays, to really keep them in the game and do it big. But, yeah, I'm going Maryland. It might get out of hand here.
All right, last one. NC State is hosting the Virginia Military Institute at 2 o'clock on the CW network. The only thing I want to see here, there's no spreads. We're not picking that. The only thing I want to see is I want to see NC State run the ball. That's all I ask for now.
That would be nice.
That's all I want.
I would love to see that. I would love to see them.
Not much. I'm not asking for much.
Throw the ball and catch the ball. That would be cool.
Well, that too.
No turnovers,
nice.
just get the offense going. That's what I want to see from these guys. Brennan's too good. Coach Anai's too good. I need to see that from them. Are there some games we missed? Do we need to go back and pick some of these? Did we say them all?
No, we did them all.
Did we? I felt like we skipped some.
Miami, well, we're recording this in the past, so in the future, Miami has beaten Bethune.
Yeah, they don't even
we don't really know. How?
Hold on, let me keep going through here. You didn't pick Duke. Who'd you pick? Virginia and Rutgers. You picked Rutgers?
Virginia Tech, Rutgers. Yeah, Rutgers.
I thought there was one we missed. Maybe not. Anyway, I feel good about it.
I think we're good. Picks will be on Twitter. They are forthcoming, and we'll adjust the lines, how they adjust.
That's right.
Mac is winning right now. Mac's 11-6. I'm 10-7. I won last year. Let's not forget. And I'm coming for you.
Winning on the podcast, winning on TV, winning on radio.
Winning in
Just
life.
making a lot of people money. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. Don't listen because I'm bound to have a blow up week. Sorry if you do listen, you lose a lot of money. That's it from us. Though. Awesome Friday, big weekend of games. Cannot wait. But next week, it's go time.
Oh,
it's go time.
Yeah, this is like our little opening act.
Opening act, because next week's going to be.
But
a lot of fun.
also, what does Deb always say? You don't think the game's big until you lose it. Don't lose.
Don't lose. But we're going to have some amazing guests next week. Y'all are going to love the Wednesday episode. Monday, of course, we'll break it all down. And then Friday, we'll talk about it all. Cannot wait, guys. Yeah. Tune in. We appreciate you joining us. Big shout out to Ingles. Could not do a lot of this stuff without them. Got some really fun stuff coming down the line with Ingles as well. Y'all just stay tuned. Get over to YouTube. You got to see this stuff because it's going to be a lot of fun. We need you to subscribe over there. Those numbers have been awesome. Leave some comments. It's fun to interact with you guys there. And, of course, over on Apple Podcasts as well. The OGs, rate, review, subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.